Justice is supposed to protect the innocent. But what happens when the system designed to deliver justice becomes corrupt? That question lies at the heart of one of the most fascinating characters introduced in the Culling Game arc of Jujutsu Kaisen, Hiromi Higuruma. Unlike most sorcerers in the series, Higuruma wasn't born into Jujutsu world. He wasn't trained by a clan, and he didn't spend years mastering cursed energy. He was just a simple lawyer, but through a combination of overwhelming talent, anger toward injustice, and a terrifying curse technique, he quickly became one of the most dangerous new sorcerers in the series. Welcome everybody, I am Enemy Mind, and today we're gonna be talking about the genius judge of Jujutsu Kaisen. Before you get into this video, please consider subscribing so we can reach 1,000 subscribers, and let's get into it. Before entering the world of Jujutsu, Higuruma worked as a defense attorney, and unlike many lawyers who simply treat cases as a job, Higuruma genuinely cared about justice. He took on difficult cases, he defended people who were often ignored by the system. But over time, he began to notice something disturbing. The justice system wasn't built to find the truth. It was built to follow procedures. This meant that even when someone was clearly innocent, they could still lose their case if the legal process worked against them. For Higuruma, this was unbearable. He constantly fought against prosecutors who cared more about winning than finding the truth, and slowly the system began to break him. The moment that completely shattered Higuruma's belief in justice came during one specific case. He was defending a man accused of murder, and the evidence was weak. The prosecution relied on questionable testimony, but despite Higuruma's effort, the court ignored the inconsistencies, and the verdict was guilty. That moment destroyed something inside him. For Higuruma, the courtroom had been a place where justice should prevail. Instead, it became proof that system was fundamentally broken, and that emotional collapse awakened his curse technique. Just like many sorcerers in Jujutsu Kaisen, extreme negative emotions triggered his power. But in Higuruma's case, that power manifested in a very symbolic way, a courtroom. Higuruma's curse technique is one of the most thematically perfect abilities in the series. His domain expansion doesn't create a battlefield, it creates a trial. And this reflects his entire worldview. He doesn't believe fights should determine justice. Instead, he believes judgment should come from evaluating someone's crimes. But the irony is that Higuruma himself becomes the very thing he once opposed, a system that decides people's fate. In other words, he replaced the broken court with another. Except now, he controls the verdict. Higuruma's ability is called Deadly Sentencing, and it's built around one of the most unusual domain expansions in Jujutsu Kaisen. Instead of guaranteeing a sure hit attack like most domains, Higuruma's domain forces his opponent into a courtroom trial. Inside the domain, a Shikigami known as Judge Man appears. Judge Man acts as both judge and a prosecutor. It randomly selects a crime from the opponent's past and presents it to the court. Once the accusation is announced, the trial begins. The opponent can defend themselves, but there are strict rules. Violence is prohibited, running away is impossible, and the verdict will always be delivered. The outcome of the trial determines the punishment, and there are two possible sentences. The first punishment is confiscation. If Judge Man finds the defendant guilty of a lesser crime, their curse technique is taken away. For a Jujutsu sorcerer, this is devastating. Without a curse technique, most fighters lose their biggest advantage. But the second punishment is far more terrifying, and it's the death penalty. If the crime is severe enough, Higuruma gains access to a weapon known as the Executioner's Sword. Anyone struck by it dies instantly. No matter how durable they are, no matter how strong their cursed energy is, the sword simply executes the target. Which means that theoretically, even the strongest characters in the series could be killed by it. Another thing that makes Higuruma extraordinary is how quickly he adapted to the Jujutsu world. Most sorcerers trained for years to control cursed energy. Many never learned domain expansion, but Higuruma accomplished all of this almost immediately after awakening his powers. This shows just how naturally talented he is. In fact, within a short time, he had already defeated multiple sorcerers during the Culling Game. He even accumulated over 100 points, meaning he had already won many deadly battles. This level of growth is extremely rare, and it puts Higuruma in the same category of a natural prodigy as characters like Gojo Satoru. One of Higuruma's most important moments comes when he encounters Itadori Yuji. Their fight becomes less about combat and more about morality. Inside Higuruma's domain, Judgment accuses Yuji of mass murder. And technically, the accusation is correct, because the destruction caused by Sukuna happened while he was inside Yuji's body. Yuji could have tried to deny responsibility, but instead, he does something unexpected. He admits it. This completely shocks Higuruma, because in his entire career as a lawyer, he almost never saw people willingly to take responsibility for their crimes. For the first time in a long time, Higuruma witnesses a true honesty. After hearing Yuji's confession, Higuruma begins to question his own path. He realizes something important. Even though his justice system is flawed, completely abandoning it isn't the answer. Killing people in the name of justice makes him no different from the corrupt system he once hated. So instead of continuing down that path, Higuruma makes a different choice. He decides to help Yuji. This moment shows that Higuruma isn't truly a villain. He's a man who was broken by injustice, but still wants to believe that justice can exist. And in the end, we can say that he's one of the most unique sorcerers in Jujutsu Kaisen. A lawyer turned judge, a man who lost faith in the system. And what makes him special isn't truly his abilities, it's the fact that deep down he still wants justice to exist. In a world filled with curses, monsters, and chaos. Anime Mind was here. If you like guys this video, please consider subscribing and leave a like. Drop your thoughts down in the comment section about this character. And thank you so much for watching. See you guys in other videos.